My ex left me and our kids with a note saying, "I'll be back in a few years," returned 6 years later to find I've divorced her. My ex-wife Penny and I were married for over 14 years. We met in high school and got married right off the bat, so we didn't really explore much about the world, but I honestly thought it was okay because we had each other. We even had 2 kids together, but she always wanted a bigger and better life, and she always made it known. She wasted nearly all of our savings on fancy clothes for our kids or the latest Chanel bag for herself to make sure she could stun on the other moms. At first, I thought it was cute, but she got carried away. I was struggling to even pay rent on time, and I told her to knock it off all the time. I guess it got to her because one night I woke up to a letter on the bed stating how I was holding her back and that she found someone she could explore the world with like she's always wanted. But at the end of the letter, she wrote that she'd be back in a few years and we'd be able to pick up where we left off. When I read the letter, I started spamming her phone and even had our kids spam her phone too, but it went straight to voicemail every time. I had to explain to our young kids that mommy was going to be gone for a while, and they were so confused that they asked if she was dead. I didn't even know what to say to them, but I knew that she was dead to me. It took me months to even adjust to being a single father, but when I did, I started to feel a sense of relief. I didn't have someone constantly asking me for money so that they could buy something that would take out my entire savings, and I didn't have a wife that refused to show me affection if I wouldn't buy them gold earrings at the mall. My kids started getting used to it too, despite them being in near hysterics when she left. I had much more time to myself now, and I managed to earn enough money to pull me back into a comfortable financial status. After a year of her being gone, I decided I couldn't handle being married to her anymore, so I got a lawyer and asked for a divorce. Since she was nowhere to be found, I was automatically granted the divorce. I sold our house and found a cute little shack in the town I've always wanted to live in but couldn't because Penny said it was too woodsy. I felt like I was living in constant bliss, and I genuinely started to love myself for once. I didn't feel weighted down by nagging or having less money than what was acceptable for Penny. I felt alive. By the 3rd year of her being gone, my kids never mentioned her anymore. Part 2. My ex left me and our kids with a note saying, "I'll be back in a few years," returned 6 years later to find I've divorced her. And I didn't see the need to keep her memory alive, but I did want to give my kids a mom and give myself some love. So, I started dating. One night, when I least expected it, I met a woman at a bookshop. She was carrying about 15 books in her arms. At first, I rolled my eyes, assuming she was making someone else buy them for her, but then I saw her curl up in the corner of the store and start reading. She wasn't wasting money, she was planning to read them all right there. I thought she was perfect. I asked her what she was reading, and when she answered, "The Perks of Being a Wallflower," I fell in love a little. I asked her out, and that was the start of a beautiful relationship. She always compared me to her book crushes, which I've heard is the highest form of a compliment from a book lover. My kids adored her too, and I couldn't resist my love for her for long. We got married in a gorgeous cabin-style wedding, and I even invited my ex's family. For 1 whole year, I was in total bliss. My kids were happy with their new stepmom, I was in love, and I was financially stable despite having a wife again. But of course, that didn't last long. One day, my ex-wife called my phone. I was in total shock when I saw the caller ID, but I picked up because we still shared kids. When I answered, she was hysterical, asking why there were strangers in our home. I asked her what she was talking about, and she said she came back to find a bunch of random people living there. I almost laughed and told her that we didn't own that home anymore, it belonged to the new owners. She started yelling, asking why I'd sell our home without her. I told her she wasn't there, so I didn't owe her any explanation. She sighed loudly and then asked for my new address so she could give her husband and kids a big kiss. I audibly scoffed and told her we weren't hers anymore, we belonged to my new wife now. She went dead silent and then accused me of cheating on her. I calmly told her that in the 6 years she'd been gone, we realized we didn't need her anymore. She demanded to know where I was so she could teach me a lesson. I hung up immediately, but she started calling nonstop. I called my kids over and asked if they wanted to have a relationship with their mom. They immediately said no. It was the perfect scenario for us. I later heard from her family that she's been accusing me of being evil, but they shut her down every time. Apparently, she's even trying to get my marriage invalidated because she claims we're still married. Little does she know, I now have access to the best lawyers in the country, thanks to her. Good luck winning that case.